Rob, thank you ever so much for your time. We really enjoyed the film. We rated it as one of our best films of 2020.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
we're really intrigued by it. The one thing we wanted to ask about was that the film is presented in real time,
Mm.
but obviously it's not been shot like that. Just wondering how long it took you to shoot the whole film.
Well, actually, I mean, the shooting of the film was actually almost the shortest part of the process because we were doing it all over Zoom. And everyone was shooting in their own homes. We didn't have lighting trucks. We didn't have hair and makeup. We didn't have all this stuff. So you're actually able to shoot quite a lot in a day. And the bulk of the film that you're seeing it's about 7 days of shooting. And then we kind of dived into the edit and figured out that we needed a few little pickups, and we went back individually with the actors and shot little bits and pieces. But I'd say the majority of the film was shot over just a week, with a lot of prep going into it beforehand. But it was all such a kind of squeezed, truncated process. The whole thing was 12 weeks from coming up with the idea initially to releasing the movie. So we were all just racing through, working on it 24/7.
So it's presented as a Zoom premise, but I'm guessing that you didn't shoot it on Zoom. Would that be right?
Well, we had permission from Zoom. Were really helpful and really brilliant, actually. Like we spoke to them and we said, we want to make this film where a bunch of people die on your platform. Are you cool with that? And they were like, yeah, we're totally fine with that. And that initially that initially was how I thought this would all go down, is that we'd literally do what we're doing now and press record on a Zoom call. I'd actually, the whole genesis of this was a prank that I played on my friends on Zoom, where I pretended I'd been eaten by a zombie on a Zoom call, and I just recorded the screen, and I got a friend to record it on Speaker View, and then I edited that together, and I thought it would be as simple as that. But I started to realize that we were putting these big, dangerous, expensive stunts into the movie, these amazing, intense moments of performance, all of which we could lose in a moment if the internet drops out, or if Zoom crashes, or if anything like that happens. So it kind of quickly became apparent we weren't able to do that. So what we did is, again, we were always trying to find lo-fi solutions. We got everyone to just like tape their phones behind their laptops, so that the phone camera just over the top of the laptop camera. So I was able to be on Zoom with them, direct them via Zoom, and be pretty confident that the image that I was seeing on Zoom was close to this thing that they were recording on their phones. What it then meant is that we had to create the whole Zoom interface ourselves. There's over 4,000 individual graphics that needed placing within the movie just to make it look like we'd press record on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
But it was all created by us in post.
I'm guessing it was, with all those different setups for each actress, each actor. From an editor's point of view, it must have been a nightmare.
Yes, I think it was. And it's like this film. This film was absolutely what it is because of Brenna Rangat, our amazing editor. Like she is as much a co-author of this movie as me, or the writers of the script, or the actors in the film. It was really about wading through this kind of improvised, workshopped material that I'd been shooting with the girls, and trying to find a way, one, to keep that feeling of real time, and to make sure that there was always something going on in all of the sometimes 7 screens that were on screen. It was that, and it was also the main thing that I was concerned about is that because it was an improvised movie, it would feel kind of listless and directionless, and I really wanted it to feel like all the storytelling beats were very purposeful. This film had a real sense of forward momentum, and I think it does, and I think the reason that it does is because of Brenner and her being able to find those moments that keep you kind of hurtling forward through the plot.
You mentioned a little moment ago that about expensive stunts and whatnot. The premise of the film is lo-fi and arguably quite economic to shoot.
Mm.
But you've got stunts in this, visual effects, practical effects. I'm guessing it's nowhere near as cheap as people might think it might have been to have made. What sort of budget did you make it on?
We made it for about 100,000. and it wasn't. I mean, it's cheap. It's a very cheap movie. It's the reason we're able to put all of that stuff in the movie is because of the way we developed it. Like the usual development process would be, you sit with the writers and you work out a script, and then you cost up that script and you figure out how much that script is going to cost to make, and then you get in the people you need to make it. That version would have cost, a lot more. But what we did is because we already had this restriction of nobody can leave our houses, we've got to record this all remotely. I decided very early on that I was going to come at it in a different way, and I called up all of my kind of usual collaborators, the stunt team that I usually work with, my prosthetics person, this kind of thing. I called them up and I was like, "What can we do? What have you got access to? Just pitch me ideas. I'll pitch you ideas. Let's just have an open dialogue about this. What's possible? What's plausible?" And the answer was, a lot more than we first expected. They were able to kind of pull together these amazing stunts because, for instance, they had access to a house full of stunt performers and stunt coordinators all living together and isolating together. So everyone legally you would need to do all sorts of crazy stunts were isolating in a house together. So we didn't have to break lockdown to do some of the crazy stunts in the movie. Things like that. There were these moments of serendipity that we were then able to incorporate into the script, and we really built all the beats of the story around what was achievable. And that's kind of how we managed to pull it off for a price.
Oh, right. Okay. So something that you've mentioned about workshopping it and whatnot, but obviously yourself and your writing partner Jed Shepherd have written it, but you've also got Gemma Hurley in this as well, who I'm not sure that you've collaborated with before. I'm wondering how she got involved in it, or how you got her involved in it.
Well, me and Jed aren't really we're not really writers. Like on the other projects we're working on, we kind of come up with the story and we come up with the beats, but we always work with a writer who ends up writing the movie. We're more kind of ideas people. And I'd wanted to work with Gemma for ages. I'd read a script of hers, which a horror script, which had a moment in it that really kind of freaked me out, and it's quite rare that happens. And so I'd met with her and we'd had a coffee, but that's, I'd only met her once beforehand, and immediately she came to mind for this when I was thinking about what writer I could bring in to work with me and Jed. And one of the things that happens when me and Jed start talking is that we sometimes get carried away by the horror beats, which is, that's our wheelhouse. We absolutely live and breathe horror. And Gemma is also very horror literate, but she's a working screenwriter. She's very kind of character focused. And I think the reason that this film is kind of has that balance right between characters and scares is because of Gemma. And that's really, she was really kind of keeping us pointed towards that goal of caring about the characters, knowing where they are emotionally the whole time. And which isn't to say that some of that didn't come from me and Jed, and that some of the scares didn't come from her. The lovely thing about it is we were all throwing in ideas, but she's just written this new Blumhouse movie with me and Jed as well, and I think we work really well as a writing this way.
Okay, so looking at it, I mean, you've got so much invested in this in terms of Easter eggs. It's absolutely jam-packed with Easter eggs, and it's clearly intentional and deliberate. Without giving too much away, what are a couple of your favorite Easter eggs in it? Ones that you're most proud of?
I think well, there's one of the things that I really wanted to do is to preempt all of the characters' deaths within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So if you watch very closely, I've left little clues as to how the characters all die, just in that first kind of seemingly aimless bit where they're chatting at the beginning. They're these kind of omen style little kind of harbingers of doom that I've put in there. If you watch closely, and then also I'm just a big horror geek, so I love putting in little references like the code, the meeting code is the release date of Ghostwatch, which is my favorite found footage horror movie. The floating Instagram mask is the the design of that mask was taken from a slasher movie I love called Alice, Sweet Alice. There's all sorts of these little things, and that's just references. There are scare scenes that are just totally stolen, pretty much. There's a scare in Gemma's room with a bed sheet that's totally stolen from this movie Satan's Slaves by Yoko Anwar, which is a fantastic horror movie. And he luckily watched the film and loved it and didn't feel like we'd robbed him too much.
I know with the actresses, certain parts of the scripts were redacted for them, so they didn't know entirely what was going to happen to who. I'm just wondering, out of the 5 actresses that you had, who was easiest to freak out, to scare, to really frighten?
Gemma's very jumpy, although weirdly Gemma, nothing really happens in Gemma's house. She was kind of the asymptomatic carrier, we called her. Like she doesn't really face up against the demon until she goes to Haley's house at the end. I think the most fun was freaking out Emma, and I really wanted to push her, and I really wanted to give her a kind of Blair Witch moment, you know, at the end where she to just push her to the point of hysteria. And the great thing about that scene is all of these girls knew each other except for Teddy. Teddy wasn't a part of this friend group initially. Teddy was somebody who I'd cast individually because he's a fantastic actor, but also because he's a stunt performer as well as an actor. And I really wanted to set somebody's face on fire in this movie, and he was qualified to do that. So I cast him based on that. The girls didn't know that. The girls didn't know that he was a stunt performer. And so that scene where Emma has to watch his death and watch him be set alight for real, her brain did not know how to compute that, and whether that was meant to be happening, whether that was like that reaction from her is totally genuine, because I think she had no idea we were going to push the scene as far as it went. So that was every time I watch that feels totally authentic, because she's genuinely having a bit of a breakdown there.
The film's had such great reaction critically, and you mentioned now that you're doing stuff at Blumhouse, which I'm very keen to hear about. But I'm just wondering, from the horror directors, if any of them have been in touch with you about the film and what they had to say. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, like those have been the most surreal moments, when people who I respect and who I consider myself a student of have reached out and said the film worked for them, and that they enjoyed it. You know, we had people like Stephen King reaching out. We had people like Joko Anwar, like Mike Flanagan. These kind of these filmmakers who are just on another level. The fact that they watched our movie at all and didn't think it was a derivative piece of shit is very, very encouraging, and still totally surreal.
Can you finally just tell me about what your Blumhouse production is, what you've got coming up?
Yeah, I can't say that much, but it's there's going to be an announcement soon. But it's another film. It's almost a sister piece host in a way, in that it's set again coast. It's not a pandemic weird texture of Wizard of Folk Down. This new movie is about the horror of going back outside after all this, and what that's going to do to us. So it's I'm really excited about it. It's totally different from Host. I feel like it's going to be very polarizing. I'm incredibly proud of it, and I can't wait to show people.
That's great. Thank you very much for your time, Rob. The only thing I would say is that since watching it, I can't go in my attic, my kitchen, the hallway. At any point, I've got an enormous electric bill because I've got to keep the lights on all the time. I'm just wondering if I can sue you and claim for any of that at all.
Bill that to Shudder. Yeah.